Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone, to all of our audience members. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to Sound Vision's Islaminar, going digital in a locked down world for community organizations, Masjids, and Imams. Sound Vision has been bringing leading quality content for almost 3 decades to the North American Muslims, and as a pioneer in personal and professional development content and trainings. For Adam's World videos, to Muslim Fest, to Radio Islam, to Islaminars, to Justice for All. In these uncertain times, when we are housebound, we cannot stop learning nor moving forward, and Sound Vision's team has been working long, hard hours to provide unique virtual programs. I am Sadiq bin Abdullah, your moderator for this webinar. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the generous donation to our webinars by WIT, which is an IT solutions company with offices in Michigan, Ohio, and Toronto. Before I introduce our presenter for this evening, I'd like to point out a few housekeeping rules so we can have a streamlined experience, inshallah. Number one, at all times during the webinar, please keep yourselves on mute so we can have an uninterrupted session, inshallah. And number two, you can use the chat box that will pop up on your right-hand side. If you press the chat button on the bottom of your screen, and I will take all of your questions and we can get them answered at the end of the session, inshallah. Now I would like to present our guest for this evening. His name is Mamoon Hassan, and he is a media producer, cinematographer, and director with over 20 years experience in producing Islamic cultural products. He has produced music videos for vocal and poetry artists, documentaries, short social media promotional content, and lengthy television programs as well. Currently, Mamoon Hassan is the managing director of Nabaga Media Production and Digital Agency, chief and editor of Ed Muslim Post, the owner of MamoonFilms.com, which is a production house. And previously, he has held various positions as executive producer for the TV show Let the Quran Speak of Toronto, senior producer of Daya Media of Riyadh, and as a communication consultant with various corporations in the Middle East as well, mashallah. Mamoon Hassan is also traditionally trained in the Islamic sciences and has served as an imam, speaker, and khatib in various GTA and Niagara mosques, and is an associate chaplain at Brock University Life and Faith Center. Mamoon Hassan also holds a degree in communication studies and an advanced diploma in film production. So without further ado, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Brother Mamoon. Jazakallah khair for coming on, and please begin.
And if you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone can hear me here.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Alhamdulillah. Very good, inshallah. Barakallah fikum. طيب, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin, sallallahu wa sallam wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So first of all, I actually want to begin by thanking Sound Vision. I think this is a absolutely amazing. First of all, I love the cool idea of Islaminars. I think it's a very beautiful branding, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin, and also the benefit of it. I've always thought that the whole idea of being able to serve the community, but not only through the mosque, was something that was quite special and something that needed someone to actually focus on for quite some time. I think without any further ado, I should probably begin. I know that Brother Sadiq said I have, when he spoke, he said over 20 years, and that just makes me feel very old. It makes me, because really, in all reality, you guys all can see that I only look 20 years old. So, we'll forgive him for that. Alhamdulillah. If I can just, actually going to share my PowerPoint here for you, and I'll actually just put myself here for you as well, inshallah. So this whole idea of Brother Sadiq, you can see my presentation here, right?
Yeah, I can see.
Yes.
It.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
So I want to actually begin by this whole idea of your mosque going digital and the spiritual based audiovisual services. So I know that the title of this seminar itself or webinar itself would have been a little bit different, or I guess really kind of doesn't explain fully what I wanted to do here. But for years, I've been really wanting the Masajid to focus more on the ability to reach people in their homes through producing audiovisual content, which, what I would really wanted to call it at that time, cultural content. I've always thought that the masjid physically, the physicality of the masjid itself was limiting to a lot of services that it can do. And subhanAllah, at the times when I used to make this argument, a lot of people used to always ask me like what are the limitations, and I couldn't think of any sort of limitations, but here we are. I think 10 years passed since the first time I've actually expressed this idea, and now finally I have it's an example that I could not have thought of at the time, but here it is now. It's a place where we cannot go to the mosque. And all of these years that we've been trying to get the service from the mosque, these services are no longer. We can't get those services anymore from a lot of mosques, because a lot of mosques just were not ready for it and didn't really see it. And I always wanted to begin this. I guess the perfect example of this was when I just finished university. When I just finished college, actually, and I was working for an audiovisual company. And I remember one of the biggest clients was for this AV company was a church. And it wasn't like a mega church. It wasn't like those crazy churches that you see with huge numbers of people. I think it was. I think the pastor was saying that there was about 300, 400 people that were a part of the church itself. But what was really unique to me was that this man was spending so much of the actual income itself, of the actual church itself, on the audio-visual setup for his church. And I used to always talk to him, and he was a man, he was from Jamaica. He used to always tell me that they spend a third of the income of the actual church itself on the audiovisual needs. So a third of how much money they actually make. And at that time, I think he was talking about $1 million that they would spend on the actual audiovisual department. He used to call it the department, the video department. So that would include like the equipments, the cameras, and also the salaries for, at that time, he used to have 4 people who were working in this department. And that was like something that was so crucial for him, so important for him, that he just wouldn't deviate from it at all, right? And we see this from a long time. And at that same time, I remember I was also a part of a masjid at that time. I remember there was a huge debate in the masjid itself over a good amount of money that came into the masjid, a donor who donated a lot of money. And the donor, I remember she insisted on making that money going towards a chandelier in the actual mosque itself. And I mean, it was a really beautiful chandelier, I'm not going to lie, but to our need at that time, we were saying, well, we actually wanted to do, like, we wanted to hold and we wanted to come up with a video department. And she just said, absolutely not. All I want is a chandelier. And that was it. And this mosque, and subhanAllah, now it's actually moved forward. But I'm just thinking of how this idea, this COVID-19 right now, and this lockdown for masajid has exposed so much of the short thinking of so many of the masajid, the short-sightedness, I guess, of it. So let me talk a little bit about who we are, and then we'll get into this. So I run a company called Nabaga Media Production and Agency. So it's Nabaga. Nabaga is the Sudanese name for the tree of Sidr. I don't know what it's called in English, but it is. I'm from Sudan, so I just like that word. And what we do is we actually provide media production content and solutions for nonprofit organizations, specifically mosques. I'm going to use a couple of examples today, inshallah, in some of the work that I have done. But that's basically what we kind of do. We also manage social media campaigns for nonprofit organizations, and specifically Muslim nonprofit organizations. Let's get into what we're talking about here. Why the AV, or why the audiovisual plan, or why the audiovisual need in the mosque in the first place? Well, first of all, the story that I told you right now is really says it all. We have to be able, at times when we are locked down, we are in an essential time that people are in need of our spiritual services more than ever, really, in a sense, if you think about it. But at the same time, we are limited now by this disease, then we cannot actually reach the people and serve them. And even though I say these are difficult times, without any doubt, I actually want to express the fact that we are also even as difficult times, these are amazing times for this kind of problem to actually have to happen, because really, had this COVID-19 crisis had it happened, I think 10 years ago, we would be here without Facebook. We would be here without a major Google. We would be here without YouTube. We would be here without all these channels that can actually allow us to do what we're trying to do right now. And this is, I honestly, I'm thankful that this is happening at this time, even though it is difficult. But alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, it's still a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has allowed us to actually experience these difficulties at a time of so much ease as well, inshallah. The second reason for why AV is important is because online presence is really crucial. So I'm going to give you guys an example. And this is an example that I've always been given because I think it's crucial for people to understand what audio, visual, or video is to the masjid. When we actually establish any mosque at any given time, I think the first thing that we spend money on, one of the first things that we actually think about is the sound system. And the sound system is literally meant to amplify the actual message itself, strictly for the people within the geographical or the physical space of the masjid itself. But the truth of the matter is that with this, with our world right now and our ability to actually reach people all over the world, it is amazing how we still neglect the fact that we can amplify our message or our voice to reach everybody in this world. Like imagine you're spending, a couple of $1,000 in your masjid just so you can get yourself a sound system that can reach the 300 people, 600 people. I don't know how big of a masjid you guys are coming from, but the 300 or 600 people who are in your masjid itself. But yet the same amount of money itself, if you actually invested wisely and properly, you can reach the 2 or the 3 billion Muslims who are around the world, those who speak English, right? And this is really amazing if you think about it in that sense. It also, having an audiovisual component to your masjid, it makes Muslims feel included, those who cannot make it to the masjid. And I always talk about inclusion is so crucial in our world now, right? Where so many people can't make it. Masajid are not like where we come from. Like I come from Sudan, and in Sudan, the masjid is like almost every single corner. But here I have to get in my car and I have to drive to the mosque itself. And when I get there to the mosque, there's an issue with parking. And there's all these obstacles that sometimes I do think twice about the, okay, is it important for me to make it to the masjid at this point or not? And this is an issue that I always have a problem with, right? So I always kind of, I evaluate, is the program that's happening in the masjid is important or is it not? And so on and so forth, right? So that's crucial as well. Second, and the last final one that I actually wanted to talk about here is what we call accessibility. Like it is important for Muslims who don't have the ability to get to the mosque. It's important for them to be able to see what's going on inside the mosque. And it's also important for non-Muslims to see what's going on inside the mosque. I remember when I was in university as well. This was a while ago, and I was the chaplain. And I used to give the khutbah on a Friday basis. And I, at that time, there was a good group of students in the Arab students in the actual congregation itself. And I used to give my khutbah in Arabic. And then one of the professors, she was a white professor, she came up after and she said, when you guys speak Arabic for so much of a time, it comes across as if you guys are hiding something. And this, by the way, this was a little post September 11. It just shows you how old I am, right? And it made me think about it because at that time, really, masajid weren't open for everyone. Like this whole idea of open mosque and this whole idea of open houses and stuff like this came recently. And to me, it's important for people to see what's going on inside of our masjids because that's just the kind of the form of the da'wah that we're in. We're not just meant to only serve the Muslim community, but we are also meant to call non-Muslims to Islam. This is crucial for me, to actually get it. And the truth of the matter is the vast majority of non-Muslims don't go to the mosque. They just won't. So how do we get them to reach this message? I mean, we would spend hundreds and thousands of dollars sometimes on making pamphlets and mailing it out and all these stuff to non-Muslims so that we can just give them some sort of information, but yet we don't, I guess we don't really, in a sense, spend the kind of the money that we have on audiovisual, and so on and so forth. Okay. So now let's talk about video itself. And I'm going to tell you my plan here in this, and then you can actually help me out, Sadiq, if this is the case or not. So what I actually wanted to do is I actually wanted to go really quickly over some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about here. And then I wanted to go the vast majority of the webinar itself to answer questions and answers. That way we can actually help people with specific problems. I don't know if that's a possibility or not.
Yeah,
something that we should do. Yeah, that's something that we should just be nicer, because I don't really know what people's needs are at this moment. I don't know their level of knowledge either, and how much of a setup they actually have. So we'll talk about this, and then we'll get questions and answers, I think.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Inshallah, very good. Like video production. So one of the coolest things about video productions is that it is a procedure that is well established. So like we're not the first ones as Muslims to actually start to establish video production within our mosques. This is something that it's known. So we're not really kind of reinventing the wheel. We know of mosques and synagogues and other organizations that have started this before, and this is it's an easy way to do it. But it's the quality that actually is problematic for us. Like I see a lot of setups, and I'm going to give you some examples of some of my good friends, Imams, who when I see the way that they're setting up their teaching ways, I always say to them, well, you've created so much work for you because you just didn't know what the right thing to do is. And that's kind of, I guess, really what we wanted to talk about here. Audiovisual, what are we talking about here? So I honestly personally think that the Masjids should be involved in short videos, creation of short videos. I think the Masjids should be also producing long lectures. And these are two different types of setups. But at the same time, there's this huge market out there right now. We're talking about it called podcasts. and also what we have just come to understand of right now, actually as a whole, as a community, which is what we call live streams. And these are all video productions, but they require some sort of technical needs that we're going to talk about. Technical needs that include the production of the picture, the actual video itself, technical needs that include the quality of the sound, and technical needs, and this is also to do with the picture itself, but the actual lighting of the system that we're actually, of the image that we're actually having. So let's talk about the cameras. Types of cameras. What kind of camera should you have to, I guess, to run a mosque video? Okay. The first ones that are big deal, and they made a big deal, which is these DSLR types of cameras. So DSLR cameras are new cameras. They're not new, but they're like newer to the market itself. They're really high quality picture cameras. Actually, they weren't video cameras. I'm actually going to show you something that I have here, and I don't know if you can see this, but it's like one of my oldest DSLR camera. It's a big camera. It's a Canon. It is really, really old, but it still has probably one of the top quality of images that you can find. When it came out, this is the same camera, for instance, that they shot. They used to shoot movies on. For instance, they shot TV show on it. For instance, not the same kind of lenses, but the same cameras, are the same processor itself. This camera is quite cheap. Like right now, you can find one of these cameras here for about $1,000, for about $1,200. But it's probably the highest quality that you can find in terms of what we have. This is a DSLR camera. Other type of cameras, what we call the camcorders. And the camcorders is just I think everybody knows what a camcorder is. Those cameras that flip open with the side. And those can also come as consumer and so on, right? And then the last one that we're talking about here, we're talking about webcams. And I just want to talk about the pros and cons of these cameras so you can understand what kind of camera you yourself can actually have. DSLRs, we said great. It creates great imagery, but the truth of the matter is it is a bit complex to use. And at the same time, it's not meant for video. So it won't capture video and audio for you in the way that you actually want it to do. It's actually meant for photography, but people start to actually kind of just use it for video. The second one is these camcorders, and camcorders were meant for video, but they're consumer based, many of them, and those that are not consumer based, they're really quite expensive. So it's not easy for you to find like a good quality camera in terms of the image quality itself. That's less than a couple of $1,000s, and sometimes for a small masjid, that's a lot of money that, you know, if you want to get that quality, right? Webcams, those cams that you just attach on your computer. The pros is the fact that you can like connect up to your computer right away. You can actually start speaking to people and to connect with them. The cons of it is that they're really terrible in terms of quality. They're very small sensors, so they don't produce the best quality, and they need a lot of light in order for them to produce any sort of decent quality. Action cams is these smaller little cameras that everybody's now buying, like the Hero cameras, and DJI, I think, just came out with a smaller one. They're good cameras, and people, I see them using all the time, but they also don't capture very good quality audio either. What types of audio can we start with? So, you know, microphones are the thing that every single mosque knows about because we always buy those. And I think we know the importance of them because even just openly, right, without proper audio, nothing comes, nothing comes with good quality. And video is exactly the same thing. I see a lot of productions that Masjids do, for instance, where they actually put the camera far away and they speak into the camera, but then you can see the image is really good, or I can see it as a video professional. But then the moment I hear the person speak, and I start to realize right away that this is just terrible, and I just won't. I won't last in watching it. And this is one of the things that I always tell people: if you're going to create yourself some sort of media department, you have to focus on audio. There's just no way around it. People will always forgive you if you have terrible video, but they will not be forgiving if you have terrible audio. And you know, types of microphones that we have is like a lav mic. Those are like the lapel mics, and these are, I'm going to just show you as well. Let me switch to, I just want to show you what we're talking about here so we can maybe ask. So this is like a Sennheiser, which is like a medium size type of, this is where it is here, right? And it's just those mics and it just clips onto your actual chest here. It's nice and close to the speaker's mouth, so it picks up quality audio. The second type, I would say, is the shotgun mics. This is a shotgun mic, for instance, the one that I'm actually using here. I hope it's not making noise for you. But it's directional. It picks only what's in front of it. If I was to speak to the side of it this way, for instance, it doesn't pick up good audio, but here it picks up good audio. Then you also have like what's on camera microphones, and on camera microphones, just like I said, just how I explained to you in the first example, it's just not good quality, because what you want to do in order for you to have good quality is always have the microphone close to you. So as we said, like the lav, for instance, it's sitting right on the person's shirt, so it's getting picked up right here. The shotgun mic, it's pointing right at somebody's face, and it's picking up in a very long directional way to pick up. And on camera mics basically. And then we have just the regular events mic, the mics that we actually use in the mosques for regular stuff. And those are good mics that you can also use, but they do require certain type of mounting, and they do require a specific type of way to set up. And you can choose any one of those. Like I always say, people, you don't have to go for the expensive Sennheiser mics, or you don't have to go for the expensive shotgun mics. Like this is a shotgun mic, for instance. It's only about $100. Not very expensive, but I'm going to show you another one, for instance, that is quite expensive, but it does a good job as well, right? And here, actually, let me just see if I can get my gear out here, and let me just make my image a little bigger here so you can actually see. So this is a shotgun mic. It's a Rode mic. This is the NTG2. And this is a really amazing mic. So you point it at anyone, and basically it picks up just through here. And these kinds of portions here, they actually cancel out the person's voice. So when you speak to someone and you're holding it far this way, you can't see it. But the quality of the audio is basically as if you're sitting next to me in the actual room itself, right? And that's what you really want in terms of the audio quality that you have. What else should we talk about? Lighting. Lighting. This is like the crucial thing. I think many times we get a camera, we get good microphones, and then all of a sudden we start to realize that, okay, well, the image still doesn't look good. So what's the problem? And the problem is that I always tell people, you need lights for the camera to see you. That's number one. So the need for lights is not only aesthetic, right? Even though it is that as well. But the need for it is crucial for the camera itself to pick up good quality imagery, in a sense, right? The camera needs a certain amount of light in order for it to be exposed properly, for the image to be exposed properly. I don't know. I'm hoping that you can see the picture that you have right now of me, for instance, but I do have a big light here, sitting here, facing me right in my face, right? And that's for the exposure of my face, like for you to actually see like the fact that I'm sitting here in front of you and this is my face. But at the same time, we're also using light. So for instance, in the back there, you see that blue light that's sitting there, and that's just for aesthetically to please people, right? So it makes it look a little nicer, makes it look like we actually care about the backdrop and so on and so forth, right? So there's a difference between the two of them, but light is crucial in any sort of imagery, the way that you want to create quality lighting or quality video. Like, I want to talk about quality versus quantity of light, because many times, for instance, I say to people, okay, well, let's get lights in order for you to actually have good production value, get lights. And what they do is they just bring a big, huge light from like, I don't know, Rona or whatever hardware it is, and they flash it into their faces. And I say, yes, you've got a lot of light, but the quality of that light is not the same. So you don't always need a lot of light, but you need good quality light. And a good quality light, I call this like what soft light, a light that comes from a big, huge light source that gives you always a soft light. I wish I can actually turn the camera on so you can see the kind of light that I have. But I have like this big light that's sitting here, and it's flashing through a white diffuser, which is basically diffusing, and it's just making the light itself big, right? And that's what happens. Yeah.
Just a quick question. Is the light that you have in your room the same one that was in the image that you showed in the slide?
Which one did I show? Let me see here. Is it this one here?
Yeah, like those.
No, so it's not the same one as those. These ones here are like they're just, I guess they're just bulbs. They have bulbs inside of them, right? Like you see that in here. This one that I have is an LED light, but they do the same thing, right? Because this is basically what we're trying to do here. So we're trying to make these small lights into something bigger, right? By putting this big diffuser in front of it here. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? This diffuser basically, it kind of just makes the light softer, so the shadows are not falling really harsh on your nose and stuff like that. And when we're talking about these things, people always think that we're trying to, it's for beautification. It's not really for beautification. Well, it is, but the truth of the matter is, ugly lighting is distracting from the message. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not just, it's not just the idea. Like if you have a person, and I always say, like, the cameras could be sitting here and your speaker could be here, and then the light would be so harsh that it's leaving like a big shadow on his nose, and it's making his nose, for instance, 3 times the size that it actually looks. It becomes distracting. Like no one is going to listen to what he's going to be saying. And this happens all the time when my kids watch videos with bad lighting. I say, oh, Baba, like, look at how he looks. Oh, Baba, look at and all of a sudden I start to realize that, there's a distraction from the message here. So what we're trying to do is, we're not trying to create something that's so beautiful to the point where we're like, wow, this is like Oscar-winning cinematography. But what we're trying to do is just eliminate distractions and also make the look pleasing so people can watch you for a little bit longer, right? That's kind of the idea that we have here, okay? So light, quality versus the quantity. So soft versus the actual harsh light. And then the color balance. You want light that is professional, because you want it to look, you want to give your skin the right look. You don't look sick. You don't look like, have like yellow skin tone or bluish skin tone, and so on and so forth. This is what I see in a lot of people, where they just point the light itself and they just point it towards someone else. These are crucial for us to actually get. I always say there is no light better than the sunlight, and there is no light better than the sunlight on like a casty day, like an overcast day. It is beautiful. Go outside and shoot with your phone on a day day that's overcast, and just with your terrible like front-facing camera on your phone, you'll start to realize, oh, this looks beautiful, because the light is coming from a big source, which is the sun, but it's also larger. I mean, relatively to you, right? Because it's hitting all these clouds, and the clouds are also making it spread, and it's coming really nice and soft over your face, right?